Ladies and gentlemen, there is a big problem happening right now, an epidemic, destroying value in Australian businesses. It's burnt out women. Help me stop burnt out women destroying companies. You've all heard of My Radiance Revival. It's a 7-day mini course where women can come and begin to reignite their spark. And you know about Overflow, my 16-week group program where driven women from all over the world gather with me and learn the fundamentals of a deeply satisfying life. But for these ladies, it doesn't work. Why? Because they're rich, powerful, and busy. And frankly, they don't really want to sit around and listen to other women's problems. So they rely on me as their trusted advisor. We go deep into whatever's in their way. I hold her accountable, and together we get shit done. So Jean here, when she was working, she's in her 70s now, a retiree, but when she was working, she was a well-respected doctor. By any reasonable measuring stick, her family is extraordinarily wealthy. Now, Jean has realized that she's lacking a little bit of purpose in this last chapter of her life and wanted to rediscover it for herself. She's also a leader in her Rotary group, and there was some friction with some of the members. She wanted to upgrade her ability to communicate and lead, and she's got a 30-plus year marriage that she finally wants to find happiness in. So she's called me in to support her with that. Rebecca is a dentist in North America. She runs 3 practices, and she realized at some stage, through her experience of extreme anxiety and panic attacks, that she'd spent most of her life contorting herself, trying to be what everybody around her needed her to be, and so much so that she'd lost a sense of herself. So we've worked together to support her to rediscover that woman within, rediscover her confidence and her sense of self-worth, and as a result, her marriage, her business, and her relationship with her stepdaughter have transformed. Jennifer is the co-CEO of a property development company doing some really big deals, but there's also been some really big tension between her and her co-CEO. So we've worked together, and underneath that tension, what we discovered was that she didn't feel like she could have a voice. That was impacting her in her leadership, it was impacting her marriage, it was impacting her health. And when she turned 50, she said to herself, no more. This needs to change. I don't want to do the next chapter of my life the way that I've done the last one. And so we've worked together to rearrange that and support her to step into becoming the leader that she wants to be. I'm sharing these stories because these women were on a trajectory to destroy the very companies that they had worked so hard to build. And without an intervention, that's exactly what would have happened. So what does happen when things go bad? Well, communication breakdown means, of course, that teams become pretty dysfunctional. Clients leave because important stuff gets missed and they can pick up the tension that's playing out in the team. Revenue drops. Staff consider quitting because the stress that that woman is experiencing bleeds out onto everyone around her, and she becomes no longer fun to be around. And you would all understand this as business owners. The reputational damage can take years and years to repair. If you follow the trajectory down far enough, it ends up as quite a dumpster fire. So what are the keys instead then of giving these women and the businesses they've worked so hard to build and contribute to a different future? There's 3 elements, and it starts with a foundation of nervous system and emotional mastery. I work with these women to support them to take control back of their internal world, to get back in the driver's seat, interrupt the chaos and transform it into something more powerful. We work together to make sure she has the right success team around her. Things like making sure she's got a practitioner that can get her hormones and gut health in balance. Things like making sure she's well supported at home with a housekeeper or an au pair or a cook, whatever's relevant for her, to free up some of her capacity and get her back to life. And of course, we get really clear on who is the woman she's becoming. Who is it that she is growing into? And then I hold tension in her life in a way that supports her to move towards that in meaningful and consistent ways. My approach creates really consistent, meaningful, and lasting change in these women's lives again and again. So, I have a question for all of you. Do you care enough to save Australian businesses from burnt out women? Because if you do, and you know a woman who is leading a significant organisation or working inside of one, and she's not doing it with ease and joy and self-connection, then I would love an introduction. I'm Nicole Stewart, trusted advisor, saving businesses and burnt out women.